All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 2022 annual meeting of the Judges of the Superior Court. My name is Pat Carroll. I am the Chief Court Administrator for the state of Connecticut. This is the third time that we have conducted this meeting virtually by way of Microsoft Teams. We're live streaming this event on the Judicial Branch's YouTube channel to allow members of the public and our judge trial referees to observe the meeting. I would ask that you disable your camera and mute your microphone during the meeting unless you have been recognized and are actually speaking. Because all votes taken at this annual meeting must be recorded in the meeting minutes, we will follow a process that should make virtual voting easier. On each vote taken, either Justice McDonald or I will identify who is making and seconding the motions, and then ask only for no votes. If you wish to vote no, you will be asked to enable your audio and video, at which point you will be recognized, asked to identify yourself for the record, and then cast your no vote. All votes other than recorded no votes will be presumed to be votes in the affirmative and will be recorded as such in the meeting minutes. First item on the agenda then would be to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the annual meeting of the June 11th, 2021 annual meeting that were posted on the Connecticut Judicial Branch's website.
So moved, Judge Faceto.
Judge Anna Faceto has moved the acceptance of the minute. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Westbrook.
Second, Judge Morgan.
We have 2 seconds, but I believe we have Judge Morgan has recorded her seconding. So the motion has been made and seconded. Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? Seeing none, all other votes of those present and voting will be recorded in the affirmative. It is now my pleasure to introduce Chief Justice Richard A. Robinson, who will give his remarks. Justice Robinson.
Thank you, Judge Carroll. Good afternoon. And as always, I want to first thank you, my esteemed colleagues, for your dedication and professionalism. While it is fair to say that nothing is likely to top the experience of 2020 and 2021, 2022 has been quite a year so far as well. However, due to your hard work and support, I would describe this past year as one of great successes and an outstanding recovery. I am an extremely lucky person to be able to work with so many gifted and dedicated people. And before I go any further, I'd ask that you please indulge me for a moment so that I can specifically thank a few of them. Thank you, Chief Court Administrator Judge Pat Carroll and Deputy Chief Court Administrator Judge Beth Pizzuto, who somehow kept the judicial branch operating during a pandemic, civil unrest, courthouse shootings, death threat of the judges, failures of aging infrastructure, flooding buildings, budget cuts, and general chaos. Alongside of them are our outstanding chief administrative judges, Jim Abrams, civil, Judge David Gold, criminal, Judge Mike Albus, family, Judge Bernadette Conway, juvenile. In stepping up in September 2021 to fill the shoes of Judge Conway was Judge Dawn Westbrook. I also want to thank Justice Joan Alexander, who as CAJ of criminal worked in Bridgeport Courthouse into her elevation to the appellate court in July of 2020. And by the way, most recently to the Connecticut Supreme Court. David and Joan, I'm proud to say, are my classmates of the judges class of the year 2000. I also want to officially recognize all of you, the judges on the front lines. From the onslaught of COVID-19 to our continuing recovery, you have distinguished yourselves amid substantial challenges, including but not limited to a worldwide public health crisis and the challenges of moving business against that backdrop. By the way, with significantly fewer judges available to handle those cases. Despite those hurdles, you persevered. And I personally am grateful to all of you for all that you have done. Because of the efforts of everyone I have mentioned, plus our incredibly talented and dedicated judicial branch staff, the clerks, the marshals, the program directors, the myriad others, I know the judicial branch is ahead of the curve and has emerged stronger than ever from the pandemic and other challenges that we have faced. The disruption of the last 3 years was not a disruption we wanted, but it was a catalyst to real and meaningful change in the quality of justice that we deliver. We have become more aware of unfairness and inefficiencies in our system and have started doing more to provide procedural fairness and access to justice to the people that come into contact with our courts. And I note that we'll be taking a monumental step in that direction with the upcoming rule changes, with the vote on the upcoming rule changes that we're about to vote on. We are using technology in a far better way than we ever did before. And at the same time, we are doubling our efforts to make sure that we are closing the gap in the digital divide. We are making sure that we do not make the same mistakes of the past and being sure that we do not forget or exclude the most vulnerable portions of our population as we move forward. Like every other institution, COVID-19 impacted our courts. Throughout the pandemic, the judicial branch employed strategies to minimize the negative impact, while at the same time recognizing that each division, juvenile, civil, criminal, and family, were impacted differently as well. Such differences occurred for various reasons, including the parties' ability to use technology to attend hearings, the number of self-represented parties, and the number of entities involved in an action. As such, each of the divisions just mentioned experienced different pending balance peaks. Clearly, civil matters were the most conducive to virtual platforms. Its recovery was well underway by October 2020. It is important to note that a significant percentage of civil litigants are represented by counsel, who helped in adapting more quickly to in-person restrictions and to virtual hearing formats. So at this point, civil matters have returned to pre-pandemic balances. Additionally, juvenile delinquency and child protection petition pending matters are at pre-pandemic levels. Pending case balances for criminal matters peaked in April or May of 2021. It had a slightly longer recovery period, significantly attributable to the number of participants necessary to conduct those proceedings. We are happy to report, however, that we are almost at pre-pandemic levels. Like criminal matters, family matters have several participants in court processes. Unique to family matters, though, is that a significant percentage of parties are self-represented. In fact, less than 1/4 of the litigants are represented by an attorney. So the combination of those two factors resulted in a slightly longer recovery period to each pre-pandemic level. Family cases pending balances peaked in August of 2021 and have made significant progress since then. In fact, for the past 9 months, dispositions have exceeded added cases, which in turn lowers the pending balances. Our in-person jury trials for both civil and criminal are moving forward as well. The numbers are promising. 111 civil jury trials have occurred since June 2021, when jury trials resumed after having been suspended since 2020. As for criminal, 46 have gone to full verdict since June 2021. Defendants in 39 pled out after jury selection began. And in 10 cases, jury selection started just before the cases were disposed. Looking ahead, I am eager to see the further progress that awaits our court system, ultimately, the people that we serve. Thank you for all the things that you are doing, all the things that you have done, and all the things that you will do to make this possible. I will now turn the virtual podium over to Judge Carroll so that he can provide his remarks.
Thank you, Chief Justice Robinson. Thank you particularly for your kind comments. I have a brief report. I believe we have a PowerPoint. Thank you. I'd like to start off by recognizing our newest Justice of the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Robinson has already mentioned Justice Joan Alexander. She became a Justice of the Supreme Court on April 29, 2022, after serving as a judge of the Appellate Court and a judge of the Superior Court. Judge Hope Seeley became a judge of the Appellate Court on April 29, 2022, after serving as a judge of the Superior Court. Next slide, please. I now also have the pleasure of introducing to you our 32 new judges who just completed their pre-bench training program. It's a very impressive class, and routinely I would call on each of them to stand up and be recognized, but we're going to introduce them virtually today using their official branch ID cards. So they are Elise Alfano, Scott Chadwick, Victoria Chavez, Stephanie Damiani, Eric Daniels, Thamar Esperance Smith, Bob Golger, Maria del Pilar Gonzalez. Next slide. Josephine Graff, Christopher Griffin, Wendy Grispin, Jazette Henry, Steve Jacobs, Scott Jones, Tara Knight, Jeanette Figueroa Lascos. Next slide, please. Elizabeth Leeming, excuse me. Eric Lohr, Cherie Phoenix Sharp, Brian Prolesky, Christine Rapillo, Charles Reed, Liz Reed, John Riley. Next slide. Amir Sheikh, Kevin Shea, Chuck Stango, Cecil Thomas, Nita Vadi, Joseph Vizcarando, Matt Weiner, and David Zagaya. Congratulations and welcome to the bench. Next slide, please. We also have 3 judges who have completed or will soon complete their terms as Chief Administrative Judge or Administrative Judges. I will recognize them now and assure them that we will be delivering their coveted judicial branch plaques to each of them in the near future. They are Judge Jim Abrams, who has served as Chief Administrative Judge of the Civil Division since November 1st, 2017. Judge David M. Sheridan, who has served as the Administrative Judge for the Hartford Judicial District since September 4, 2017. Judge Dawn Westbrook, who has served as Administrative Judge of the Tolland Judicial District, also since September 4, 2017. The service of all 3 of these judges in these capacities will end on September 2, 2022. On behalf of the branch and all of your judicial colleagues, we thank you for your service. Before we move to recognizing our colleagues who have passed away in the last year, I'd like to take a moment to note for the minutes and thank the many long-serving judicial branch employees who have retired or are about to retire. I would specifically like to acknowledge and thank Cortez White, the Director of the branch's Materials Management Unit, and Libby Graham, the Executive Director of our Administrative Services Division, for their many years of service to the judicial branch. Cortez and Libby were key players in getting all of us safely through the challenges that were presented by the pandemic, and we all extend our thanks to them. Next slide, please. That would be the slide recognizing our colleagues who have passed away since the last annual meeting. First is the Honorable Hal Kalmar of Stonington. Hal attended Tufts University and joined the Army Reserves after graduation. He received his law degree from Albany Law School in 1984. Shortly thereafter, Judge Kalmar joined the Sussman Shapiro Law Firm of New London and established himself as a respected labor and employment lawyer. He was appointed to the Superior Court bench in 2006 and presided over civil, criminal, and family matters in various judicial districts before returning to the New London JD, where he served as administrative judge. During his career on the bench, Judge Kalmar fostered deep connections with his fellow judges, lawyers, and courthouse staff, and the greater New London community. Judge Kalmar passed away on January 27, 2022. The Honorable Jack Grogans earned his undergraduate and Juris Doctorate degrees from the University of Connecticut. After earning his law degree in 1955, Judge Grogans entered into private practice and 1 year later enlisted in the U.S. Navy, where he served for 2 years. He went on to practice insurance defense at the Hartford and subsequently opened his own law firm. He became a judge of the Superior Court in 1994 and served until his retirement in 2018. Judge Grogans was dedicated to the law and public service, and he passed away on March 30th, 2022. The Honorable Michael Mack of Stonington earned his law degree from the University of Connecticut in 1962. After graduation, Judge Mack joined the Army Reserves, where he ascended to the rank of captain. In 1983, he was appointed to the Superior Court by Governor William O'Neill. Judge Mack left the bench in 1990 to accept a position at Aetna. In 1998, Judge Mack was again appointed to the bench, this time by Governor Rowland. He served as presiding judge for juvenile matters in Windham, chief administrative judge for juvenile matters, and as the deputy chief court administrator. Judge Mack passed away on October 20th, 2021, and he was always most comfortable simply sitting outdoors with a cold beer in his hand and enjoying life. My dear friend and mentor, Socrates Mihalikos of Waterbury, received his bachelor's degree from Brown University and went on to serve in the United States Air Force, achieving the rank of first lieutenant. After an honorable discharge, he served in the Air Force Reserves and earned a law degree from the University of Connecticut. In 1985, Judge Mihalikos was appointed a judge of the Superior Court. In 2000, he was appointed to the Appellate Court, where he served until his retirement in 2019. Judge Mihalikos passed away on July 6, 2021. A man of exceptionally strong faith, Judge Mihalikos loved and served his church both in Connecticut, Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Waterbury, and St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church in Fort Pierce, Florida. He will be missed dearly. And finally, just a few days ago, Chief Justice William Taco Sullivan of Waterbury dedicated his life to serving others. He earned degrees from Providence College and the College of William and Mary's Marshall Wythe School of Law before joining the U.S. Army. In the Army, he rose to the rank of captain. He served his country in Vietnam, receiving 2 Bronze Stars for valor, the Air Medal, and various campaign ribbons. After his honorable discharge, he began his legal career in private practice before becoming corporation counsel for the city of Waterbury. He became a judge of the Superior Court in 1978, a judge of the Appellate Court in 1997, an associate justice of the Supreme Court in 1999, and in 2001, Governor John Rowland appointed Justice Sullivan to be Chief Justice. Chief Justice Sullivan passed away on June 6, 2022. He was dedicated to his work and most importantly to his family and friends. He was a tireless advocate for all of Connecticut's judges. I would ask that we all now observe a brief moment of silence for our deceased colleagues. Thank you. Turning now to item 5 on the agenda, I would like to introduce Associate Justice Andrew McDonald, Chair of the Rules Committee, who will review the rules changes recommended by the Rules Committee, for which he will seek your approval. Justice McDonald.
Thank you very much, Judge Carroll, and good afternoon, colleagues. First, I would like to thank the members of the Rules Committee for their work over the last year, both in the meetings that we had and also during the public hearing that we conducted. In particular, I'd like to thank Judges Avery Whetstone, Judge Bellis, Judge Cobb, Judge Farley, Judge Hernandez, Judge Wynn O'Dowd, Judge Prats, and Judge Trulia for all of their work. And I would be remiss if I did not also thank Attorney Joseph Del Campo and his team, who ably provided us with legal assistance during the course of the year. We have previously distributed to all of the members of the bench the recommended changes to the practice book. Those recommendations hit about 40 different sections of the practice book and span over 100 pages that have been previously sent to you. They were, as I mentioned, the subject of a public hearing, and they were totally voted upon by the Rules Committee. So regarding the practice book revisions that were forwarded to you for use at this meeting, I would recommend that the revisions be adopted, and I'd ask if there's a motion to adopt this recommendation.
So moved, Judge Morgan.
Judge Morgan moves adoption. Is there a second?
Second, Faceto.
Judge Faceto seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? If not, the votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative. Secondly, as regards the revisions to section 2-27 that were just adopted and which authorized the disclosure of certain non-public information obtained from the attorney registration process to the Department of Revenue Services in connection with the collection of the occupational tax on attorneys, it is further recommended that those revisions become effective October 1, 2022. Is there a motion to adopt this recommendation?
So moved, Judge Morgan.
Judge Morgan moves adoption. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Faceto.
Judge Faceto seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? If not, the votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative. It is further recommended that all the other revisions to the practice book that were forwarded to you for use at this meeting and that were just adopted become effective January 1st, 2023. Is there a motion to adopt this recommendation?
So moved, Judge Morgan.
Judge Morgan moves adoption. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Faceto.
Judge Faceto seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? If not, the votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative. It is further recommended that the reporter of judicial decisions may make editorial and technical changes to the revisions, including changes in numbering and lettering. Is there a motion to adopt this recommendation?
So moved, Judge Morgan.
It's been moved by Judge Morgan. Is there a second?
There's a second, Judge Faceto.
Judge Faceto seconds the motion. Is there any discussion? Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? If not, the votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative. I appreciate your time, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Judge Carroll.
Thank you, Justice McDonald. Turning now to item 6 on the agenda. 4 judges are to be elected to the Rules Committee of the Superior Court. The 4 judges to be elected are in addition to the Chief Justice's appointment of 4 additional judge members of the Rules Committee and 1 Supreme Court Justice as committee chair, for a total Rules Committee membership of 9. I will now call on Judge Robin Pavia, Chairman of our nominating committee, to provide the nominations of 4 judges to serve on the Rules Committee for 1-year terms commencing July 1, 2022. Judge Pavia.
Thank you, Judge Carroll. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the nomination committee, which consists of Judge James Abrams, Judge David Gold, and myself, I move to approve the nominations of the following individuals: Judge Elizabeth J. Stewart, Judge Stephanie A. McLaughlin, Judge W. Glenn Pearson, and Judge John B. Farley to serve on the Rules Committee for 1-year terms commencing July 1st, 2022.
Judge Pavia has moved. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Faceto.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, all votes of those present will be recorded in the affirmative. Turning to item 7 on the agenda, section 51-51K of the Connecticut General Statutes provides that members of the Judicial Review Council shall be appointed by the governor from a list of judges who are not justices of the Supreme Court, selected by the judges of the Superior Court. I will again call on Judge Pavia for the nominating committee's report. Judge Pavia?
Thank you. I move to submit the names of Judge Susan Quinn Cobb and Judge Leo V. Diana to the governor, one of whom will be appointed to the Judicial Review Council as a regular member.
The motion has been made by Judge Pavia. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Faceto.
The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, all votes of those present will be recorded in the affirmative. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Executive Committee's report. The Executive Committee at its meeting on May 24th, 2022, made recommendations to the full bench concerning annual appointments of certain judicial branch employees and individuals to serve on various panels and committees of the judicial branch. These recommendations were approved by the Executive Committee on May 24th, 2022, posted on the Connecticut Judicial Branch's website, and emailed to each of you in advance of this meeting. At this point, a motion to accept the recommendations of the Executive Committee would be in order. Is there a motion?
So moved, Faceto.
Judge Faceto has moved the approval of the recommendations made by the Executive Committee. Is there a second?
Second, Judge Morgan.
Judge Morgan seconds the motion. Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any no votes? Are there any abstentions? If not, all votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative. There appearing to be no further business to come before the meeting, I would recognize Judge Faceto for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Judge Morgan.
I assume there are no votes? No votes being heard. Are there any abstentions? If not, all votes of all present will be recorded in the affirmative, and the 2022 annual meeting of the judges is adjourned. Thank you all for your participation.